Alright, I just bought one of these Yihua 936 soldering stations from Hobby King. It cost me about $25. So I thought I would compare it to the Hakko 936, a genuine article which I use at work. This is basically the Chinese version. They don't actually make the 936 anymore. It's been superseded by the FX888. So you can't actually buy these, and I guess that's why all the Chinese copies are coming out now. First we'll look at the irons. They're basically identical, save for a few minor differences. The parts are cross-compatible. You can use Hakko tips on the Yihua and vice versa. The grips are slightly different, but they feel the same basically when you're using them. The leads themselves, the Hakko lead is a really soft, pliable silicone, whereas the Yihua is more of a PVC feel. It's a bit stiffer, but it's still pretty good. The Yihua is slightly shorter as well, so the Hakko has more reach. You can see there, bit longer, not too much, but just give you that extra bit of reach. The plugs themselves on the Hakko is a plastic plug and is a male, whereas on the Yihua it's a metal plug and it's female. So if you were to try and use one to fix the other, you just have to replace a plug. Apart from that, they're identical electrically, so they're a direct swap. For the stands here, the Hakko is a solid cast aluminium design with rubber feet and a nice thick sponge. I like the hole in the middle because you can scrape the tip. The Yihua, on the other hand, is lightweight plastic. There's a high temperature bakelite or some other sort of high temperature plastic there. A thin sponge, which is no big deal, you can put whatever sponge you want in there. But the sponge tray is pressed steel, maybe for heat resistance or something. The problem I've found with this so far is, because there's no feet, it's perfectly flat, it slides around. You can't just sit on top because it'll just slide back, whereas the Hakko design has actually feet sticking out, so it hooks on the end, and it's being a lot heavier, it's a lot harder to move. I prefer this one a lot more because of that. We'll try the irons in both of these holders, because I had the idea I'd use an old one of these from work and replace this one. I'll show you how they sit in there. Okay, we have the Hakko, and when you put in the Hakko, it's nice and tight. Sits there, sits there nicely. This one from the Yihua doesn't sit in there nearly as nice. Wobbles around, and the metal here actually contacts the plastic. It's a fair way away from the tip, but it's not quite as finished. If we swap them over, so I'll take the Yihua one and put it in the Hakko, and I'll get the Hakko and put it in the Yihua, it's still very loose. Well, actually for both of them, because it seems like there's slight differences in the collar in the end and in the ends where they sit in here. So in the end of the day, if you've got one, you can use it, but just so it doesn't move around on the desk, but it's not really going to sit in there properly. But it's $25, so can't really complain. We'll have a look at the power sources now. The moulding on the cases is practically identical. No complaints on the Chinese one. The front panels themselves are slightly different, but basically the same layout. The plugs obviously are different there. As for the base, you can see, if you look closely, there's an absence of rubber feet on the bottom. You could put a bit of foam there or something if you wanted to, but it's just a nice touch having the rubber on the Hakko so it doesn't slide around on the desk. Besides that, they're basically exactly the same. Alright, now we'll have a look at the internals, see what's going on inside. We'll pull the covers off. This one's a bit dirty because it's old. Alright. Now, first of all, they almost look identical with the layouts. This one is a lot lighter. The transformer is slightly smaller, so there's a bit less metal in there. The layout itself is the same. You've got the PCB for the switch with the fuse on it. This one's got a fuse on it as well. Slightly smaller fuse. That's the same layout. And the circuit board on the front. You can see this. You can see the circuit board here is physically smaller. So we'll have a closer look and see what the difference is. It's interesting. I assumed it was going to be the same because the PCB layout and the board artwork is freely available online for the Yihua Hakko unit. So I assumed that they would have just copied that, but it looks like they've done things a little bit different, maybe to save some cost. We've got a 24 volt output from this transformer, whereas this one isn't actually marked, but I would say it's about the same. Alright, we'll try and have a look at the circuit boards. The Hakko is going to be difficult because I have to actually desolder this plug to separate the circuit board from the front panel, which I don't really want to do. So we'll see what we can figure out. The circuit board is all single-sided. All the components are on one side. You can see the main power transistor in there, the MOSFET or whatever it is, LED for when it's heating. Pretty standard. There's a calibration pot, a few bits and pieces in there. An interesting thing that this one has is you can actually lock the dial in a certain position just using an Allen key in here. So if you don't want it to be bumped or tampered with, you can tighten that up and it will lock to your setting for whatever job you're doing. The solder quality is very good. Looks like this may have been hand soldered, the plug. The rest of it machine soldered. Yeah, general high quality panel there. If you have a look over at the Yihua, this one I can take off. I'll just take off the control knob and undo this. We have a lot closer look. So this board you can see is a lot smaller compared to the Hakko. They've got some things on the back of the board as well, I guess just for maintaining some space. You can see these ones here, they're tabs to actually support the pot in there, which is used for the temperature control, bit of mechanical support. This one here doesn't actually have anything, it's just glued down with a bit of some sort of glue that's not quite that good. It's got the holes for it there, but they're not actually used. We've got the power transistor on the back, smaller heatsink, along with a capacitor which is obviously too big. It's a JWCO brand. I've never heard of that brand. We'll see how long it lasts. 105 degree rated. Yeah, right. Standard fare on the front. Doesn't look too bad. The general Chinese components aren't quite lined up. All through hole. The soldering on the back. Standard Chinese. Hand soldered potentiometer there. Hand soldered wires. But doesn't look too bad. It works, I guess. You got the earthing here, which is soldered onto a tab. Could be maybe a little bit nicer, but the Hakko has basically the same thing, but theirs is crimped. They've got a proper earth plate here. So you can see it's crimped and screwed. This one's soldered and screwed. Same effect, just the Hakko's nicer. Apart from that, it doesn't look too bad. It's got a decent strain relief that complies with Australian standards. The switch is the same. They both say that they're ESD safe on the front, so we're going to try testing between the tip and the earth pin just to see what reading we get. Just to see if this one's properly earthed. We'll do the Hakko first, see what we get. One ohm. Get about 1 ohm. That's not too bad. And the Yihua, between the earth pin and the tip, 0.6 ohm. It's pretty good. The Hakko will be reading slightly higher because it's an older tip and it's a bit oxidized. You're getting about 1 ohm. That's not too bad actually. So that's testing okay. Now we'll fire them up and we'll see what they say with the temperature calibration, how well that is. Alright, we're going to test the temperature accuracy of the two units. We've got a Fluke 116 multimeter with the temperature probe. So we're going to test the Hakko first and see where that sits, and then the Yihua. I've set them both to 400 degrees C, centigrade, Celsius, whatever, and we'll try them out. 400 degrees is actually a temperature specified by Hakko to use when calibrating. You calibrate them with the pot that's inside the panel, just underneath the dial here. And you set that to 400 degrees. Once it's stabilised, then you can adjust it till the tip actually reads 400 degrees. So we'll be testing at the same temperature. So I'll test the Hakko first. See what we're sitting at here. Right, the Hakko is reading 394 degrees and still rising. That's pretty close. That's well within 5%. I generally aim for 5%. So we've got, we'll call that 395, 396. So that's pretty good. Now we'll try the Yihua. So we've got over 5% difference now. It's reading a little bit high, but we can calibrate that back down. One thing I've also noticed is the Yihua has a lot longer recovery time and a lot longer heat up time than the Hakko. The Hakko barely takes any time to heat up. Compared to newer stations, it's still pretty slow, but it's, you know, couple of seconds, and the Yihua takes a lot longer. You can see when the lights are turning on and off, the Yihua stays on for a lot longer. $25 station, you can wait a few extra seconds, it's no big deal, but just something I've noticed. The Hakko will be keeping a lot more stable temperature with a lower hysteresis. The transformer's slightly smaller, that's probably why it's a bit slower. So to summarise, what do I reckon? Well, the Hakko, being a discontinued model, you can't get them anymore. Like I said before, they've been replaced by the FX888. This unit is excellent for those starting in electronics. You don't want to spend big dollars to start with. There's a few little things I'll change. I'll put some rubber feet on the unit and on the stand just so they don't slide around. But the electrical side of things looks good. The cord's good. The strain relief is good. It's an earth tip. It's a little bit slow on heating up and recovery compared to the Hakko, but having a MOSFET which may be a bit smaller in current rating, the smaller heatsink and a slightly smaller transformer would all add up. But for $25 you can't go wrong. You can calibrate the unit. The iron feels good, it feels almost identical to the Hakko, apart from the cord being slightly shorter and not quite as pliable. It's got the 105 degree rated capacitors inside. I'm not sure if I believe that, being a very cheap brand. So the longevity of the unit itself is yet to be seen. So I would recommend one of these units if you're looking to get into electronics. I work professionally with electronics, and this is going to be my at-home hack unit, and this one will stay at work. Hobby King is where I bought this one from, but you can obviously get them around eBay and the other usual places. Go for it.